Good morning and welcome to the May 27th meeting of the Riel Community Committee. I'm joined in council chamber by my colleagues, Councillor Matt Allard of the St. Boniface Ward and Councillor Brian Mays of the St. Vital Ward. We're also joined in committee with our clerk, Rebecca Ford, our planner, Daniel Iskursky, and Kevin Kowalczyk, our land planner engineer. I want to start by acknowledging that Winnipeg is located on the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dene, and Dakota peoples, and is the birthplace of the Red River Métis Nation, and the water that we drink is sourced from Shoal Lake 40, located on Treaty 3 territory. And I would be remiss in saying that we are on Treaty 1 territory here in Winnipeg. So with that, I will kick it over to our clerk. I see we have no delegations this morning.
Right.
So I
do
need
have
a
5 minutes.
motion to accept the minutes from our last meeting of April.
It's April 30th, and we also had a special meeting on May 3rd.
So moved by Councillor Allard. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Wonderful.
So we'll move right into reports.
Sounds great. So item number 1 is a possibility for a citizen member appointment to the Riel Library Advisory Committee. It's sent along that we have a vacancy up until December 31st, 2024, and we have received an application. If the committee would like to consider that appointment.
Can we move that till after the meeting?
Yeah, so we
Unless
have
somebody has any strong feeling. So can we just put it at, I don't know, can we hear it, can we deal with it just before or just after public hearings?
Sounds reasonable, yeah?
Okay.
All right, I don't
We
think we need a
don't
motion for
We
that.
don't need a motion.
Okay. Then we have an occasional liquor permit for Shakespeare in the Ruins. I guess that's in my ward. So Councillor Allard, could you take the chair?
Yes,
So this is an annual event that takes place at the Ruins in St. Norbert by the St. Norbert Arts Center. They're looking for a occasional liquor permit as they're running a series of Shakespeare plays, including Midsummer Night's Dream, one of my favorites, and Iago Speaks. So I'll seek approval for an occasional liquor and gaming license.
okay, any motions?
Fleet Shadows, what's the restaurant? How offended. Anyway, no, I'm fine.
Like to hear more, Councillor Mays. Is that your motion?
Think put this, yeah, am I moving this? Yeah, I thought Chambers moved it.
I moved it.
Okay, sorry, moved by Councillor Chambers, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried. Councillor Chambers, if you want the chair back.
Yep.
And so next is Windsor Park Community Center. I'd like to move the.
No, Windsor.
Oh,
Community.
sorry, Windsor.
That's
Okay,
one of
Councillor
mine.
Mays.
Frequent.
Last
Move the occasional liquor permit for the Windsor Community Center.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And then I would like to move this motion, Winnipeg Rowing Club extension of lease agreement. This will move up to standing policy committee. This group has been in touch with, with me and us, well, at least one of my colleagues. So I'd like to move this up. They've made a request and moving it up the chain if this committee concurs.
So,
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, they've been in touch with me as well. It'll need to go to the next level. We have fairly recently extended Wildwood Golf Course, I think, for 20 to 25 years. We've extended what was Shaw Park now is Blue Cross Park for the Goldeyes for 20, 25 years, somewhere in there. This seems like a reasonable compromise. I think the city policy is like a 5-year extension and these guys want like a 40-year extension. So this seems like a reasonable compromise coming from Councillor Allard. It's in his ward. This is not the canoeing one, which is down by Churchill High School. This is the rowing one, which is off of Lyndale. So yeah, they put a fair bit of their own money in. It's a cool thing. I'd never been in there until recently, or I haven't been in there in, 25 years, 30 years. So support the motion.
Okay.
And I just, in terms of asking a question, I see that you got a 20-year lease here. You partially answered the question, but I've had a couple of groups, including Maple Grove Rugby Park including one of the lawn bowling associations at Dakota that are also looking for long-term leases. I think it helps in that regard in terms of leveraging money that they can borrow or looking at grants if they have a longer-term lease as opposed to the 5-year lease. So I'd be interested in looking how I can assist some of those groups that I have in my ward. As I said, the Maple Grove Rugby Park and Dakota Lawn Bowling to get those longer-term leases as well.
Okay, I'll be happy to hear those motions in the future.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
We have 5 items of new business. I should have a motion to suspend the rules to hear them.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you. If you'd like to consider the first one, I think that is in your package. It's Cosmos Cricket Club from Councillor Chambers.
Yes, so I'll have Councillor Eller take the chair. Cricket is a sport that is gaining in popularity here in the city of Winnipeg. It's as a result of, partially as a result of the newcomers that are coming to the city of Winnipeg and us extending or increasing our sports offerings here in the city. With that, we need suitable fields and spots that allows the game to be played. So I'm looking at $500 for our Port Richmond cricket program to assist in younger kids learning about this game here in our city. Indoor cricket balls, outdoor cricket balls, indoor and outdoor training, wickets, chalk, et cetera, et cetera. So this is an opportunity to teach the younger generations on how to play this game and feel connected to our communities.
So moved by Councillor Chambers.
Yes.
Can you remind them when they do these charts of investments on cricket in the South End, that go to collegiate, the cricket batting cage, which was opened almost 10 years ago, which I helped heavily to fund, that counts as the South End. It isn't all just the Southwest. But that's not your affair, so I'm certainly supporting this. I'll give them a call on that directly.
Thank you.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Chambers. So we had discussion. All in favor? Aye. Contrary carried. I'll give you the chair back, Councillor Chambers.
So the next item of business is land dedication reserved for the Hindu Society of Manitoba Temple and Cultural Center renovation.
Yeah, this is a request, which I will support for 5,000 from, my ward's LDR. Councillor Sharma some years ago was very good about helping to fund the Hindu temple on St. Anne's Road when that was still in my ward. It's now with Councillor Chambers, of course. So this is, sort of the reverse of that. This is the one up on Ellis, which, she is doing the majority of funding, but I think it's fair to make a request given the funding from other wards that came in to help the St. Anne's Road one. So I'll support for $5,000.
And then I need to check the reserve funds. I'm interested in supporting, but I'm not sure how much is available this time, so I'll take that offline.
And yeah, perhaps I can be of assistance there as well. If you want to do 2,500, I could probably match that.
Yeah, I know that my board funds are very tight, given some of them were used in the budget, the 4-year budget. So I need to make sure the money's there before committing to it.
So with a review
We've got
of
46 as of end of April.
with a review of available funds.
So yeah, at this point, this is a recommended rejection, so it does have to proceed to the next committee anyway, Executive Policy Committee. If you would like to make a contribution now or ask for contribution at EPC once that arrives, that's
Yeah,
another possibility.
I will ask for, I'd like to review what
Yeah.
resources are available to support this project.
Fair enough.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Mays. We can always fix it. Sorry, moved by yourself.
No.
Oh, you're in the
yeah,
chair.
I'm in the chair.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, yeah, so
Apologies.
no worries. With regards to what the clerk has mentioned, we can have a look, see what resources are available and make that recommendation to EPC. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, number 3 is a land dedication reserve for Lancer Parent Committee, Dakota Laser, Murrayfield Press Box.
Very good by our staff, Helen Fabry, Rebecca Ford here. This came in like Thursday, I think, or Friday, and got turned around. So I had feared we would not meet criteria. Pleasant surprise, it does meet criteria, so we can just do it here today. So this is, yeah, the Murray Field, which has $1 million of city money in it, just to be clear on that, it wasn't all privately funded, but this is kind of the next step in the upgrades at Dakota Collegiate. So a lot of parental money going in here, big whack of provincial money from the former provincial government. So they've asked 20 grand from my LDR, so I'm happy to support that. This is, I think, to be done this summer. So yeah, I will support for the request of 20,000.
Yeah, and so looking at the application, I see a lot of names that I'm familiar with. Glenn Scribner, who was involved or supported the press box that went in at St. Tel Mustangsville. Dale Dreger, that's done a yeoman's job here in terms of, putting football on the map in the south area of the city, between the work that he's done at St. Tel Mustangsville and the work that he's doing at Dakota Field. And Myron Klisch, again, a huge community supporter. Back in the day, I believe I coached his son in hockey, and he's just been a great contributor to the community. So very interested in supporting this press box as well.
Okay.
So I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. We'll move on to number 4, Land Dedication Reserve Fund for Paddle Manitoba, refurbishing the paddling center building.
Who's for it?
I think that's
Chambers.
Councillor Chambers and Councillor Lukes would have this at Assiniboia as well.
Yes. So I think we talked about providing, is it,
2,500 each.
yes, for a total of $5,000.
Correct.
So I'll have you take the chair, Councillor.
Okay. So, Councillor Chambers, do you have a motion?
Yeah, so $2,500 from the St. Norbert St. River Ward to assist Paddle Manitoba with their refurbishing of their building project. The project plans include just updating the building to increase access and accessibility for some paddlers, and making sure that the building has sustainability in perpetuity.
Okay. So moved by Councillor Chambers. Manager?
Yeah.
Yeah. So moved by you?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Contrary carried?
And then you stay in the chair. The last one is an occasional liquor permit for the St. Norbert Farmers Market. We all know the great work that the St. Norbert Farmers Market does on an annual basis. I'm happy to be working with them in coordination of my Winnipeg 150 event that takes place on June 22nd behind the St. Norbert St. Norbert Farmers Market Field, and behind the St. Norbert Community Center Field. So again, June 22nd is our Winnipeg 150 celebration that will be taking place there. And the St. Norbert Farmers Market is always lending a hand to assist in community events.
Excellent. So Councillor Chambers moves a motion. Madam Clerk, you know what we're doing?
Yes.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried?
Okay, if we would like to go back to the Library Advisory Committee, I've forwarded the email, which includes the applicant's resume and some references.
Sure. I'm sure I know what I'm doing here. Does anybody want to support this application? Or?
So I'm just reading.
I'm logging into the account.
Manitoba Writers Guild. So just bear with us 1 second. here.
Voted.
She lives in the community. She's part of Manitoba Writing Guild.
Yeah.
And comes highly recommended.
For the, oh, so that PDF. Okay, well, I don't know this, I don't think I know this individual personally, so. Everything seems in order.
Yep.
To me.
Okay.
So I will move the resume we have on file. There are no objection.
And application, looks
Okay.
good to me. Yeah.
All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you. So we cannot start our public hearings any earlier than 10:30. So we'll have to take a break.
So we'll call.
Consolidated hearing, three,
Yeah.
one matter.
Correct, combined hearing.
Okay.
So
Kowalik will be here.
Sorry?
Kowalik will be here for that.
I think he is in Assiniboia right now, perhaps.
Sorry,
Kevin, our engineer.
he must be, yeah, he
Yeah.
can probably be here too for the 10:30.
I indicated to him I will have questions on that.
I'll message you.
Yeah.
all right, so we'll call for, is it an adjournment or
It's a recess.
a recess till 10:30?
Sorry.
Good morning and welcome back to the hearings portion of the Real Community Committee meeting. We have one matter before us today that it's a combined hearing. And I will turn it over to our clerk to introduce the matter.
Thank you. So for housekeeping, in accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is that the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made, but no new information may be presented at that point. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you are not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the public hearing process brochure. This is available on the City Clerk's Department website. And please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be a part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department, myself. So as Councillor Chambers, our chair, alluded to, we have a combined hearing item today. Item 1 is a subdivision rezoning at 1009 St. Mary's Road. That's under file DAS 20/2024. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, it is a combined hearing. The following items will also be heard at the same time. Item 2 is a conditional use at 1009 St. Mary's Road under file DCU 136537/2024D. Item 3 is a variance at 1009 St. Mary's Road under file DAV 128946/2024D. Additional communications were received in respect to the matter. They have been distributed to all members of the committee as of Friday afternoon. Participants are on YouTube are being muted, and they will be permitted to speak only when called upon. Once you have been heard, you can either remain in the Zoom meeting or leave and continue to watch via the city's YouTube channel. If any participants are currently watching the live meeting on YouTube, please mute your audio player now as it causes some feedback in the chamber. So at this time, if it's the will of the committee, I would ask the planner to give us an overview of the applications.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning, councilors. The Public Service recommends approval of the proposed subdivision and rezoning, as well as associated variances to permit a 7-story, 120-unit multifamily building, as well as a conditional use to maintain the existing place of worship. The subject property is located mid-block on the east side of St. Mary's Road, in between Sadler Avenue to the north and Hindley Avenue to the south. It is in the Worthington neighborhood of the St. Matilde ward. The site is approximately 99,188 square feet in area and has a church and residence situated on it. The property has access from an unpaved rear laneway. The site is designated as an urban mixed-use corridor under the Complete Communities Direction Strategy 2.0, and the property is split zone R2 residential two-family district along the western portion and R1M residential single-family medium district along the eastern portion. The applicant is proposing to subdivide the property to retain the place of worship on proposed lot 2 and construct a 120-unit multifamily residential building on the newly created lot, which is proposed lot 1. Proposed lot 2 will be rezoned to R2 residential two-family district, and proposed lot 1 will be rezoned to RMFL residential multifamily large district. The new proposed parcel will have a building that will be 7 stories in height, which is 75 feet to the highest architectural feature and 72 feet to the parapet. The building itself has a slight L shape with 63 feet of frontage along St. Mary's Road and is approximately 320 feet long, which is deep into the site. The submitted plans show that there is a lobby, multi-purpose room, gym, and office on the main floor facing St. Mary's Road, with the north side access facing the open parking area and a stairwell access to the south side. The north, south, and east facades also have balconies and windows. There are 4 different cladding materials, 1 to differentiate the main floor black brick, and floors 2 to 6 are finished with acrylic stucco, as well as the top floor having metal cladding and an architectural feature facing St. Mary's Road. The development itself has 130 parking spaces, which are in a combination of underground, indoor at grade, and surface parking. Of those spaces, 6 are accessible, with 1 of those being van accessible and 14 are designated for visitors. Vehicular access to the property is proposed by way of an approach from St. Mary's Road and the laneway access from Sadler Avenue to the north or Hindley Avenue to the south. A total of 20 bicycle parking spaces are also included. The subdivision and rezoning will result in the establishment of a multifamily residential building that is consistent with policies in our Winnipeg 2045 and guiding urban mixed-use corridors in the Complete Communities Direction Strategy. The proposed development will increase residential density in the Worthington neighborhood, thereby increasing housing options in this pedestrian-oriented, bikeable, transit-connected, amenity-rich neighborhood, as well as helping the city to achieve its residential intensification targets. As the proposed development will utilize existing infrastructure, including the street network, public transportation, water and wastewater service capacity, and city services such as library, recreation, and education, we recommend its approval subject to conditions. That concludes my introduction. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Daniel. Go ahead, Councilor Mays.
3 things off the top. Several points in this report, we are told it's 99,000 square feet. It literally has the word subdivision in the title. Nowhere, and I didn't hear from you, nowhere are we told what are the 2 parcels going to be. I mean, I appreciate it's a somewhat irregularly shaped, but we must have that.
I can look it up for you.
While you're looking that up, the parking, I have no doubt here from people, as I've heard already from people who are worried that parking will eke out onto the neighboring streets. Is 130 the most did the applicant propose more or less? How did we land on 130? Is that the required amount?
It is just slightly under the required amount. Looking there, it's within the urban infill area, so it does get a reduction from the 1.5. It does result in a parking ratio slightly above 1-to-1, which is generally for a quarter is what we would support. So from an actual reduction standpoint, we wouldn't have necessarily any concerns from planning perspective, given that each unit itself has choice parking for 1 stall.
I appreciate so often here the civil service don't have concerns, and then I get hundreds of calls as I have in Glenwood, people bitching about on-street parking. But again, I guess it doesn't count because it doesn't go back to the civil service. So it's just reality, but not policy. Third question has to do with, you used the phrase amenity-rich neighborhood. Tell me about that.
Sure. Well, there's numerous commercial activities across the street directly. Further north, There is a grocery store towards Dakota. There are numerous other restaurants, hotel, alcohol services if they would require, as well as
Sorry?
like there's an alcohol distribution unit there, like beer. There's a beer vendor, as well as further towards St. Paul Center is not very far off. There's small scale commercial further north. I would consider those to be all amenities as well as recreation, educational services, institutional services around.
Okay, well, you're not listing, well, I'll come back to that, so I'll be asking, I actually don't consider, I mean, that there's commercial nearby does not make it amenity rich, I'm sorry, but I'll be talking to the developer about that at some point here. Thank you, though. So the two lots are,
Oh, so sorry, I was still answering your question there. I haven't had a chance to get to that.
okay, well, I'll turn to Koalik for a bit, then maybe we can come back. This has been a multi-year process. One of the big challenges on this has been that it is it's not quite in a combined sewer area, but it's in a mixed area. It's in the major sewer district, MAGER, major sewer district. Lots of energy put toward trying to find solutions here on making sure the post-development flow into the system is equal to the pre-development flow into the system. There's reference to a technical memorandum here at some point, but I don't think we have that. So what happened? What happened? What was the solution on the combined sewer issue?
So yeah, it's a partially separated combined sewer. So part of the Environmental License Act is that they do not increase their flow to the combined sewer due to the frequency and duration of overflows. They had enlisted the services of a municipal engineer who provided several drafts of a solution. Currently, it's still in a draft format. The solution has never been finalized and fully accepted. However, from a technical standpoint, it's pretty sound. It's to extend the land drainage sewer down St. Mary's to the south and pick up flows to offset to the existing that are currently directed to the combined sewer. So he's removing about 20 liters a second from the combined sewer from rainfall, and he's only proposing to increase by about 5.
Okay.
So it's a general reduction to the major combined sewer.
So while that hasn't been finalized, that's the theory, you're comfortable, the civil service is comfortable approving that.
So we would be approving this not on the basis of that actual report, but that the proponent will find a solution and construct it. So if for whatever reason that proposal falls through, we're comfortable that there's another solution that could be found, although it may be increasing in cost.
So 120 units, partially separated combined sewer, but the same rule applies. You can't, the flow into the sewer system after the fact has to equal the pre-game flow. And here they're close enough to the edge of that sewer district that they could drag that pipe further south on St. Mary's.
If their existing connection actually was to St. Mary's and not to, sorry, I don't know the street running, Sadler. If their existing wastewater connection was to St. Mary's, that wouldn't even be the same concern. Like it's,
Okay.
They're right on the edge, and again, they've done a lot of research, they've done a lot of engineering on it. It just needs final approval.
Thank you for that. Back to the planner, if I may, Madam Clerk, Mr. Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
I don't know how much really rides on it then, but what do we know how much?
So the site area for it looks like the new development is just over an acre. And the remaining portion for the calculation for the other side. Would you prefer it in acres or
I mean square feet, so.
square feet? Okay, let me get you
What
square
that-
feet acre. So the new development, about 47,000,
Okay,
and the remainder,
about 52 then.
yeah, Just shy of 50 feet.
I don't know, there was something else that came out of that. Is it, so no height variance is needed here, right? I know we're not, I mean, it's a combined hearing, so we're getting to the variance, the conditional use, all that noise, but it's okay, so no height at seven stories, 72 feet, which isn't bad for 7 stories, frankly, that no height variance needed.
No, we've also recommended that as part of the zoning agreement, that the height from the RMFL gets capped at 85, because it would actually allow for a larger height than 85 feet. The 85 feet would allow for some variability in case there was an error in the final design. From this to the final design, they needed to increase it slightly.
Okay, there was something else, but I've forgotten it, so if I remembered, I'll pose it then. Okay, I think that's.
I have a quick question. Just looking at the lot plan here, where is ingress and egress? Is it off of St. Mary's, or would it be behind, like you would have to turn down either Henley or, what's the other street? Henley or, Sadler to access?
They have both an approach coming off St. Mary's, and then they can access from the laneway to either from the north or south there.
Okay, so the access off of St. Mary's, would that is there a staging lane or turn-in lane? Is there a throat that allows for cars to be stacked on the property as opposed to be stacked on St. Mary's?
Like while turning in, if there was a queue sort of thing,
Yeah.
it would just be right on St. Mary's.
I've thought of the question.
Why I still.
Thank you. Halfway between Sadler and Hindley, there is not a lane, but rather the unopened remnant of Ustic Avenue, one of the stranger, very Saint Vital Street, appears, disappears, appears, disappears. The city had been looking at selling off portions of that, which seemed incredibly ill-timed, given that this was in flow. I emailed, I never heard anything back from any staff member. So do we know, Dan, what's going on with the idea of possibly selling some of that lane right of way? It's not a lane, street right of way.
I do not know anything of that. I can see that there's small parcels that would not be the correct width for a lane, but there's a scattering of parcels along Henley, in between Sadler and Henley, between the properties themselves. The housing, to be specific, further to the east.
Okay. And what, do we have a fencing requirement along let's call it the easterly leg of the laneway, right? So there's a lane which we're going to require them to pave. On the eastern side of that lane, there are two very deep properties, 200-ish deep. Do we have a fencing requirement in here?
For the subject properties themselves, they are proposing a fence along the lane on the northern portion where the place of worship will remain. And I'm just checking in here for the other one. I believe they have a fence along, and then their access point towards the interior and underground parking.
Okay.
Is close.
Okay, I'll try and sort it. I mean, I can see they might say it's not where are we supposed to put it? It's not our land, which would be a fair point. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk?
Thank you. So then I would proceed to call forward the applicant. I see Ms. Wilkie is with us. Is Mr. Wan joining you?
That's right. Representatives from Ray Wan Architects as well. Michael Chan, and then Ray Wan will speak at the end.
This is right across from Christie Bunch.
wanna run the show there? While I talk? Yeah. Oh, thank you. Good morning. Thank you. I got my paper in front. Good morning, and thank you for hearing us out today. We're here for our application for 1009 St. Mary's Ave. We are going to run through some of the information on the DAS said and the variances, as well as the DCU, which is literally just to keep place of worship on lot 2. The DAS said will split the existing lot, that is the existing church, to create a residential housing lot at the south end of the site. Right now, that area is used for parking and some green space, but it is very underused at the moment. And the frontage on St. Mary's is not in keeping with the density that is happening along St. Mary's as well. So we feel that this development, bringing the building up to the property line, will fit in with the neighborhood. Part of the rezoning is to widen the back lane to a 7.25 meter width. I believe there's a slight change in the report where it's a little less than what we had said that it would be. There will be a survey plan that says exactly where we need to be, how much land has to come off, but the end result is to have a proper 7.25 meter width back lane along this property and the church property, both lot 1 and 2. The variances that you see, the first one being for the building coming to the front of the lot, where it ranges from 0 to 18 feet, is that the building is on a slight angle to St. Mary's, because St. Mary's, of course, has many different angles on the front property line. And the lot area per dwelling unit being at 396 square feet per unit instead of 400. So a 4 square foot difference between the requirement and the what we're proposing, and having 130 parking spaces instead of 144. So short by 14 parking spaces. This is, and with our parking, we'll show you, we're having surface parking, at grade parking under the building, and also underground parking to meet our requirements. The variances on the parking area, the one for the front yard is so that we are aligning our parking with the edge of our building as we're coming in. And the other ones are for the buffering along a back lane, as we have access on the back lane, and where we're sharing the driveway with the access for the church. Do you want to go to the next? This is best represented in the plan that you see here, where you can see that we have a right in, right out access on St. Mary's Road, excuse me. Pardon me. We will not have a median break here, so there won't be any stacking coming southbound. At this point, the stacking will happen at the intersection turn on either Sadler or Hindley, which existing has the ability to have those turns. Coming out, it'll just be a right out only, so there won't be any turning from this approach out onto to cross traffic. We have the access coming out to the back lane with the widened back lane based on discussions with administration and with the requirement for having a fire route coming through the site to connect up and have the turning radiuses to come through. Pardon me, sorry. The south side yard meets requirements for zoning so that we have the setback to the existing 4 lots on the south side. We are also on the main floor, that will be parking. So adjacent to them on the main level will be will not be activity. It'll be a wall on that side. On the north side of the site, we have the on-site parking and visitor parking matching up to the lot for the church, with a fence going along the north side separating the two so that we don't have cars thinking that they can drive through the landscape. And then along the back lane, there is the access for the underground structures. Thank you very much. Underground parking comes by the back lane. And we also have a garbage enclosure on the south end of the site, that will be accessed off of the back lane, because we were planning on having city, pickup for the garbage. Next one. Oh, my apologies. I'm going to, have, Michael Chan discuss the architectural drawings, and then I'll come back and talk about the, public engagement that we have done.
So I guess I know it's been summarized by the planner, but just to go over some of the architectural features here and considerations that we've done for the building. It is 120 units, approximately 145,000 square feet. We did try and keep the building height, like we are jam packing a lot of floors within that 75 feet. So, you know, in terms of the consideration for adjacent neighborhoods, we did try and minimize the overall height as best we can, with most of the architectural features played on St. Mary's, where most of the activation of the streetscape will occur. Some of the amenities that we have on site, the NPR room, which is about 1,600 square feet. We've aligned this with St. Mary's to create activation along the streetscape. A lot of the main floor glazing has been placed along St. Mary's for activation. Again, NPR room, so as people walk by, they can see the activities going on in the building. There's also a gym, parcel locker, and indoor and outdoor bike parking. The parking consideration is, in terms of what Councillor Mays had brought up, we did try and put as much parking density on this site as we could, with it being underground, the entire footprint, a portion of main floor. Good portion of the parking percentage is within the building footprint. The exterior of the building is a mix of acrylic stucco, higher end metal composite panel, pre-finished metal, and brick at the main floor for durability. Again, we are trying to use a higher level of finishes for the long-term development and durability.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to review some of the public engagement that we've done. We had a public open house held on February 8th from 5 to 7 at St. Eugenie Church. It was advertised with 100 hand-delivered flyers to the surrounding area. Approximately 30 people attending, with 25 people signing in and 22 people responding to the survey. Of those, 72.73 agreed or were neutral that adding multifamily residential would help with the housing crisis that we are experiencing in the city. 52.39 agreed that or were neutral when asked if RMFL was an appropriate designation for the building and the parking that we're providing. 63.64 respondents agreed or were neutral when asked if appropriate parking was provided with bicycle and access to transit, especially as St. Mary's is going to become a major transit route in the new transit master plan. And 59.09% responded or that they were agreed or were neutral when asked if the variants were appropriate with the widening of the back lane and extending the building to St. Mary's.
Anyone in opposition then claim the neutrals were with them? Couldn't you, I mean, for all I know, it's 3% in favor and 46 neutral, and then we'll have somebody say, yeah, 96%. If you can't, like, just, can you give me the numbers for who was agreed, not who?
I do not have that with me at the moment. The neutral were generally less than the agreed. The only one that was similar throughout the whole three were with the parking, where it was approximately 20, 20, and 20. We did hear a number of concerns from the community. Number one was privacy in the backyards along Sadler and Hindley. With this, the building is too tall and has too many units. The building's oriented to face north-south for the most part, with views from balconies, not directed directly. I believe there's a few on the east side that we can adjust in the final design if we need to help mitigate the view sheds. The height of the building and number of units is based on a feasibility for developing the site and to provide the underground parking and fitting that into this site. Reducing the height and number of units would make the project undevelopable, so we would not be able to move forward with this project. There was concern that current schools and daycares are full and adding additional children will impact the existing residents. In review of the existing school district, any new students would be accommodated with busing if necessary. The number of families coming into the building would be limited to the number of 2-bedroom units in the building as well. It is not all 2-bedroom units. Sorry, I'm going to run out of my time here. Can we get an extension? For 2 minutes? Sorry. Thank you.
How much of an extension do you?
2 minutes, please. If we
Sure,
can.
I'll move a 2-minute extension.
All those in favor? Opposed, carried, proceed. 2
Thank you.
minutes.
There's also a concern that vehicular access should be only from St. Mary's Road. And speed controls are required on Sadler and Hindley. We confirmed with the city of Winnipeg that access is required off of the back lane. They originally had desired that we only have access off the back lane. And we had asked to ensure that we had the one off of St. Mary's to help adjust that traffic flow. And the owners would also support any initiative by the community to have speed controls on Sadler and Hindley. We would lend our support to that. Neighbors were also concerned about graffiti and garbage in the neighborhood right now that are happening. The addition of the building won't change the existing condition, but could be a benefit as there are more eyes on the street. As well, there'll be a maintenance program for the building, so the garbage will be picked up within that area on a regular basis within the development. And then just wanted to finish with a review of the context of this site. The existing strip along St. Mary's is generally commercial with one other multifamily residential across the street. This church to the south of us is a gas station as well. So we do feel that this is in keeping in that this project is going to the closest back lane as well. Thank you. Reid has up 30 seconds.
30 seconds. I'm just doing a closing, Councillor. Thank you for the detailed presentation from Jackie and Michael. They talk about everything about major bus route, the use of materials. And recently on the weekend, we all seen the church issue, ongoing churches issue, religious building tend to be dwindling. The congregation is getting lower. And that's the whole reason why we were able to consult with the church to look at the subdivision, to give them some income to sustain their current practice. Last item is the reason why we stay on the 75 feet is the building is of non-combustible construction. It's not a wood frame building. It's a higher quality multifamily housing construction. And the building itself will be fully accessible to all floor, all spaces. So I think this is one of the type of housing project that can address the current agendas in the development market.
Okay, Councillor Mays.
A couple of questions. The usual, is there anything in this report from the planners that you are opposed to?
No, we're in agreement with everything in the report.
Okay, question number 2, Saint Eugene Church, I've been to services there, even with my third-rate French, I could get some of it, so you may well be right that the congregation is dwindling, but is there somebody from the church or the congregation or the diocese or the archdiocese who's here today?
I don't believe.
No. But one of our delegates is the developer and he may be able to answer. Moni, will you be able to answer? Will you be able to answer the delegate?
Here's my question,
Mhm.
which is, the people I know from the church show me a set of drawings from some years ago with a much smaller building. So what's going to happen is, if this is approved, I'm going to get blamed for the bigger building, and the people who run the church are going to say to the neighbors, we wanted a smaller building. That's all we wanted. We were okay with the smaller building. Blame the councillor. So somebody who's vending this property needs, if we're vending it, if we're selling it to give money to the church, Somebody needs to tell me that they're okay with the size, because what we're not gonna have is me getting blamed for a tall building when the church gets the money and the church saying, well, we just wanted the smaller one. We were with you, community. It's him, it's the counselor. So somebody maybe should do their homework and tell me, what is the church's view of the 7-story building? Because the earlier drawings showed a much smaller building. Probably absolutely uneconomical with the combined sewer work, give you that. But what's the deal with the church then?
The current presentation, the application has been presented to the diocese. The church is aware of the current design, sir.
Is the church support? They are aware, yes. Or not, you guys did actually do a pretty good job of public consulting. You were in the church. So kudos on
They
that,
also
I have
gave
to
us-
say.
They also gave us authorization to make this application.
All right. So what you're saying to me is the church is supportive of a 7-story structure.
Correct.
Thank you. Third thing, you guys raised the neighborhood schools, and for years we had, sorry if my bitterness or fatigue shows through here, for years we had presentations about how we had to approve infill because the schools, you know, were failing and the enrollment was dwindling in these mature communities. And now we have the exact reverse, which is even if the schools are full, you should still let us build because school division will just bus people. So yes, they're legally obliged to do that. And there's no guarantee any children would go to LRSD schools or French Immersion. We don't know where they would go. They could be going to the Catholic schools. Would you be supportive of, I don't consider this an amenity-rich neighborhood. I would like to do a outdoor classroom project at either St. George or Lavallee School. I would probably need about 30,000 from the developer to split the cost. It's a good reconciliation effort. We have it at a bunch of other schools, including Hastings, which actually is the closest school. Would you be amenable to that? I'd say $30,000 as a contribution. I think would have to come in to Land Dedication Reserve, I think.
We would like
I'm
to have a
good.
discussion on that in that we only have 49 two-bedroom units that would be available for families.
Okay. I've been faulted for not raising issues with developers in the past if I put on conditions, so I would like to note it on the record that I have asked you about it. You're not necessarily in favor and you're not necessarily opposed. That's fair enough. Okay. I think those, and we're good to go. We're all right on full-on paving of the back. There was at the public open house,
Yes.
which you did stage to your credit at the actual church. That was quite exceptional, actually. We're going all the way north-south. This isn't like stopping
The
halfway down the parking lot. This thing's going from Sadler to Hindley.
For the full width will only be behind the properties that we are subdividing because we do not have control of the property to the south. However, we will be paving through the entire thing for the extra 40 feet of back lane.
Correct.
But at a narrower width that will be discussed with Public Works to be to their satisfaction.
So by narrow, we're not talking like half the lane width here. We're talking, there's a relatively marginal widening of the lane.
It's a narrower back lane than standard, so it's not going to be to the standard. I don't believe it's even a 6 meter right now, so it's going to be a little bit narrower than. We'll have to have that discussion with Public Works to ensure that we have a functional pavement for them.
Well, if you're not paying to pave the wider lane, who's paying to pave the wider lane? Because I'm certainly not, so.
Well, there is no way of getting a wider lane beyond us because it's somebody else's house.
They don't go completely from Sadler to Hindley, that's
Okay.
why.
So one of the homeowners thank you for clarifying that, so. Fair enough, but, okay, that clarifies that
Yeah.
point, then you can't pave over somebody's yard.
Right.
They're acquiesced.
Yeah, that would be.
No, that's usually not a vote winner.
Unless it's a road.
Unless it's a road widening. Nicely said. But, okay, so but the lane, there was some talk, it's not stopping at the southerly end of your property. You're paving what you can.
We'll
You
pave
just
what we
can't
can,
pave
yeah.
that, which is.
We will pave what we
Okay,
can.
fair enough. What is the deal with the one might want a fence on the angles here a bit tricky, but the easterly side, the side of the lane that separates you from those first houses on.
That's all private property, somebody else's private property.
Fair enough.
And there's also city property there. So we are not allowed.
Also fair.
We are not allowed to fence on anything that is not our property. So we can't propose that in any way, shape or form, without those owners' approval and permission. So, we do not have plans to do so at present. And we would need to have the city of Winnipeg, review any fencing that would happen on their property.
Yeah, that's fair. That's not, you don't own the
It's
right.
not our
you-
property.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. What are you doing on the left-hand side, the westerly side?
On the opposite side is our, access and our back. Let me get back to that plan so that we can talk about it. This will show it. Let's do one more.
But you might be safer without a fence now that I think about it.
Well, yeah, we have a fence along where we have the access to the underground, and that's for safety more than anything else. We have a landscape island, on the north end,
Good, okay.
and then a garden, and then the garbage enclosure on the south with additional trees. So.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Question perhaps for Mr. Kowalik then, can we put in is it outside the scope of this hearing to mandate the city to put some sort of fence blockade? I don't really want people turning down the right of way between you're on Sadler and Hindley, maybe they're gonna buy the land anyway, but you see what I mean? There's the stub there, the street right of way that isn't being used.
So you're
Applicant's right, not our
speaking about-
land, not our problem. We're not putting a fence up there. We don't own it. We own it in part, so. Is there,
I can investigate that. At this time, it's only obligations that we would, obligate the developer to do. But I can investigate
Yeah, Madam
what
Clerk,
Public
can we
Works would like.
like note of that? Yeah, like I think to be fair to the neighbors there, they don't want people using that to do U-turns or whatever, or start
I believe right
driving down what appears to be a road and it
Turf right
isn't.
now.
Unimproved.
Yeah, unimproved. Okay.
I mean, the neighbors may well be buying it anyway, which would be fine, and that would solve that. Cause I don't think the fence, we'll sort it out later. Okay, thank you. I think those are all my questions.
I just have a couple of questions. I'm looking online here at, I guess, the access off of St. Mary's and noting that, right in front, there is no left turn.
Correct.
If you're heading southbound.
Yep. So you have to turn before that. Yeah.
So the only access will be from northbound traffic that will be able to access?
Into this, yeah, into this approach. Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
The
I thought
approach
you
is,
could make a left from southbound, can't
Nope.
you?
no.
No, you
can't.
cannot, not
There's
into
no
the
turn-
approach.
No left turning sign there right now. If you're heading southbound, you can't turn left. You can't, it doesn't say there's no U-turn, but it does say you can't turn left until further south past which I believe now is a co-op gas station
Mhm.
from a Husky gas station.
Right.
Uh,
Which is the next intersection. That's the next intersection.
the next intersection would be Hindley.
Mhm.
You'd be able to turn left and
Right.
access the back alley there.
Yes.
Or you could access, Sadler
Yes.
to the north. Or, if you're heading southbound, there is a stacking lane there that you can turn onto and then turn onto Sadler and then access the back. Okay.
Correct.
So, next question I have is that I'm looking on the property and I see 3 potential trees that would be impacted. Probably even more.
There are a number of trees that are impacted. We are keeping existing trees on the south side where we have our yard. There are a number of existing trees that are going to be maintained along that south property line. There are trees in the middle of the lot that will be taken down for the construction.
Are there plans to replace them?
Yes, we have trees proposed along the north property line, both deciduous and coniferous trees, as well as a tree at the approach, and some additional trees by the garbage enclosure. And then the shrubs that we need.
Thank you.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Well, I feel like I've looked at previous drafts of this, and so, Mr. Skirs, so is there a new median cut then proposed on the St. Mary's Road median?
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
Sorry, that's probably more Koalik than you, to be fair.
No, not that I'm.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Thanks to Council Chambers for spotting that. I think I saw an earlier version of this then. Okay, so there's no
We were not.
southbound can't cut across.
No.
Similarly, you're coming out, you can't go southbound because you'll have a
Correct.
median in your way. So as you,
So right
as you
in, right-
literally just said, the only option is right out or right in.
Yes.
So there's no egress from the building onto St. Mary's? You
Yes, there
have-
is. You can turn right to go north.
Oh, okay, you can, so.
Right in, right out. Yeah, right in, right out.
So signage would be required for that as well?
Well, there's a giant barrier in the way, but yes, there's a median barrier that will be in the way so that you can't make the turn, but we will.
Yeah, I was just uncertain where the apron would go for the turn-in. Well, the access,
It's just a standard approach, so you don't have to have an island in the middle. It's just an open approach. That way we have meet our prior route requirements.
Did the city was there, I feel like there was in an earlier version of this, maybe there was a request for a median cut there. Did the city oppose that?
I'm not aware of a median cut proposal.
Okay, fair enough. We had that fiasco at north of Meadowwood, the seniors building there, the Foresters building, where they keep telling us we should be doing a median cut. It's like, that's your problem, is my view. That was approved before I became a councillor. So, but here, unlike there, where you have to literally make a left into the Meadowwood Manor parking lot, do a U-turn in there, then come back out. Here we've got
2 lanes.
you can either come short, turn down Sadler, or go long and turn down Hindley, and you're still gonna be able to get right in.
Yep.
And get in off the lane.
Off the lane.
Okay. Okay, so that's not bad. Thank you to Council Chambers for spotting.
all right, any other questions of the developer? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. Okay, so just for the record, that the development team that we heard from was Jackie Wilkie, Ray Wan, and Michael Chan. I would then proceed to next up in support. We have Dupinderjeet Moni Kayla. Would you like to speak?
Hi, good morning. I just wanted to say that I support the application and thank the administration and councilors for hearing us in full. Thank you.
You're the developer, one of the developers.
Correct, I'm part of the development team.
Okay.
That's noted. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, you'd heard my earlier musings about trying to do something for one of the neighborhood schools, since that seems to be an issue put before us. So I'll be putting that in as a condition, I think, if we move forward. That's my but again, it would be a cost sharing arrangement. Your staff, your consultants did their job and said we'd have to come back and consult, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that today.
Well, we're going to give it some serious consideration and we'll get back to you, but
Okay.
I do agree with what you're saying. You know, it's an important measure that should be noted.
Yeah, this train doesn't stop here, of course, goes through through 2 more committees and councils, so, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have next registered Jackie Kayla. Would you like to speak? Jackie? Okay. Dershawn Kayla, would you like to speak? Okay. So those are the registered participants in support of the application. Is there anybody in the gallery that would like to speak in support of the application? Okay. I would then move on to those registered in opposition to the application. And the first person I have is Peter Mellick. Peter, would you like to come and speak at the podium?
Morning, my name's Peter Malik. I live at 17 Hindley Avenue. I'm one of the 4 houses directly affected by this construction. My partners couldn't be here today, although you should have received some emails on their behalf. What does the construction mean to me and to all the 4 houses affected? 7 stories, just 20 feet away from our back fence, will take away our sky. 7 stories, just 20 feet away, will turn our backyards into a zoo. There, we will be the attraction. Our privacy will be totally gone. We will not be able to go into our backyards and be private and do whatever it is we do now. 7 stories, just 20 feet away, will destroy our property value in a big way. I personally have put 40 years of blood, sweat, and tears and money into developing what I have, and my neighbors are no different. And that will all be taken away by the construction of this building. I did hear a little bit, I was going to talk a little bit about the sewer infill. You did mention a little bit about it. There's going to be some work on it. I hope so. The traffic, though, will be an absolute nightmare. It's already bad on Hindley, although we've had our street speed reduced. It really has had no effect. It's still a runway, same as Sadler. Adding all these extra cars, if there's 120 units and there's 140 parking stalls, in this day and age, how many vehicles is there actually in a house, in a home? I think the average is probably close to 2. Where are all these people going to park? When they have friends and family over, where are they going to go? They're going to be on all of our streets in the whole neighborhood. There won't be any place for even my own kids to come and park. That's probably how bad it's going to be. And we see that even now when there's a large event that happens at the church, our streets get filled right up. And so does their massive parking lot, which this construction will take half of that away. Thank you for hearing me out. I hope some of that can be addressed.
Just hang on for questions, please. Any questions, Councilor Mace?
Is there some, is there anything that to be done with the proposed building that you would favor? I mean, I don't know. I mean, even a 4-story building would give people a line of sight over your fence.
Well, that's exactly right. There's been talk of a building going up there for years now.
Yeah.
That the church itself actually at one point was going to build.
Yes.
And it was only going to be 3 stories from what I understand. It was generally going to be just an offshoot of the church at the time. And a lot of the people actually that go to that church were going to move in there. And that's probably still the plan. But the plan now, of course, you can't. The plan is, from what I heard, is to make this place a 55 plus. Well, apparently we can't do that anymore. Although you still see commercials and ads for that all over the place. So are there going to be a lot of people affected by, families? Like having families on these balconies would be worse. Having 55 pluses up there would probably be fine to a certain degree. But the size of the building, absolutely. I mean, I sat on my back deck even just yesterday. And though if I have my house to my one side, my back, and I'm looking forward, well, my sky is that way. It's south. And it'll just be gone. So we'll be in this little funnel, little dungeon down in there. And like I said, we'll become a zoo. Everybody will be able, there'll be no privacy in the backyards whatsoever. So that's my feeling on that. But the height thing, that's probably the number one concern.
Yeah. So
traffic is big. That's a big concern.
So your concern is more so the privacy that might be impacted as opposed to shadow?
Yeah, there's no shadow on our part at all.
Okay.
The shadow is the other way.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, it's a privacy aspect and property value, because that's just going to absolutely kill our property value.
In which way?
Would you want to buy a home that had a 7-story building 20 feet away from your back fence? No, you wouldn't. And most people won't.
We've had a decade worth of arguing here about whether developments increase or decrease property values, so you'll probably never get a consensus on that.
Well, like,
Not to dismiss your concern, just a lot of people, that two schools of thought here, I guess. Okay, when the developer comes back up, we'll certainly ask about what landscaping is being proposed.
well, I heard there's supposed to be some trees right along the fence. We're gonna be putting some new trees in. That of course will take years to develop. There's a couple of trees there now, but they're not very useful. And in fact, most of the trees on that property that you were talking yourself about, they have to be removed. They're mostly dead anyway. They're a bunch of oak trees that there's nothing left in them. They're at the end of their life. So that's really not that big a deal there, but, putting up a tree, even if a tree ends up being 20 feet tall, that's only gonna block out the first maybe 2 floors or 3 floors of apartments, not the 4 floors above that.
There is no lane to the rear of your property, right?
There is not.
Okay. And how wide is your property?
60?
Okay. And you're not 200 deep, are you?
No, we're the shorter ones.
Short, yeah.
I'm 115 on one corner and 110 on the other corner, and most of the rest are, I believe, are 110.
But 110, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Yes, Mr. Millick alluded to, we did have some submissions in opposition to this application from neighbors. We had Miguel Utengandani, Roland Marion, and Charles Karuliak. I did not have any further pre-registered in opposition to the application unless anyone in the gallery would like to speak.
Do we have those?
On Friday, yeah.
Can you give me, obviously I've missed something.
Okay.
Can you send me that?
Absolutely. Okay, so
I may need 2 minutes here to.
is there no one else wanting to speak in opposition or for information on the application? Okay. And I will just make sure that the counselors
Okay, I see
have access to
Friday.
that. Yep.
Well,
Thank you. I'm looking for an attachment. Sorry. Yeah. Can you give me 2 minutes here, man? Yeah. It's asking me to sign.
Would you like to take a recess?
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, sorry
take a
about
quick
that.
recess.
Yeah.
I need like
Take a recess and come back in 5 minutes, 10 minutes? 10 minutes. We're back at the hearing portion of the Real Community Committee. We have one question of Councillor Mays.
Yeah, just before we come back to in rebuttal to the developer, the conditional use is as easy as it seems here. It's just that the church can continue to operate as a church.
Yeah, it's technically because they were split zoned. They'll now all be within one zone R2. And because of that, it resets. So they need the conditional use to permit a place of worship in the R2 zone.
There's a house next to that, to the church.
Looks like a residence. I don't actually have information on it, but there's also a garage with an approach
Yeah,
off of Sabbath.
But it's swept in under
It's all within.
this. I mean, it's certainly run by the church. Okay.
Mhm.
Good. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, any other questions? Of administration? Seeing none. Questions of the proponent? This is time for rebuttal and
Yes, if there's no further questions for the public service, I invite the Spokane team to speak in rebuttal with 10 minutes on the clock and no new information may be presented.
Thank you. From the presentation by the resident to the south of us, we would like to do some clarity on the building that we have and what we're proposing. It is a multifamily building that is going to be geared towards an older tenancy. We cannot necessarily say that we're doing a 55 plus, but we are creating a mix of housing units that is more in keeping with people who are of an older demographic, their desires and wishes. We have small balconies, approximately 4 foot by 6 foot, and they are indented into the building. They are not set out of the building, so that helps with the privacy. And being smaller, they aren't meant for people to be out there a lot. So you have room for a cafe table, a chair, and maybe your herbs, so that you have just a spot to have a space outside. We can also do opaque glass on the balconies so that we, again, create more of that separation so people aren't looking at each other. As discussed, we can have trees on that south side to help with the greening on that edge. Yes, it will be a building set back 20 feet from the property line. That's not going to change what we're looking at, but we are trying to create a space that has has more of a feeling of a wall versus people looking in. When you're in a balcony, you aren't necessarily looking at your neighbors. I know that people feel that that's an idea that happens, but people in apartments are not peeping toms. People in apartments are living their lives.
Thank you. Are there any other follow-up questions?
Can you give me some detail on what's planned? Yeah, I mean, in some ways, the site is very good in that you got the gas station, then you got several lanes. No one from west of St. Mary's is here today, which is unsurprising because it's a long way to a house over there. You've got the church separating you to the north. You've got the lane, but as one might have expected, there are 4 players here. Those 4 houses who do live next to a gas station, so it's not like commercial is completely foreign on the block. But I get the objection, but what's the vision for trees, the landscaping at that boundary with the 4 houses?
We want to keep as many of the viable existing trees as possible so that we have that existing height, so you aren't waiting for trees to grow. So we'll be keeping as many of those as possible. We will also be planting a mix of coniferous and deciduous trees along that edge so that you have all year cover with the coniferous trees. And then deciduous trees that are a little bit faster growing to bring up that edge. Again, depending on if we lose any of the existing trees, he was saying that a number of them are dead, but we'll take a look. I don't know that they're necessarily dead. They may just need pruning. But anything that we can't keep, we will be replacing for sure. And adding as much of a screen as possible on that edge.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Right.
For clarity.
So I think we've nailed the existing zoning would create a certain height limit, but the new zoning, I mean, we are rezoning here.
Yes.
If that new zoning is granted, you don't need a height variance. You're under the 85 feet.
They're well under. We're also recommending in the zoning agreement a cap of 85 because it would be 150 in the RMFL. So they're half the permitted height in the RMFL.
Yeah. And the objective is not to go to the tallest possible, stay within the limits that we're talking about.
Okay. All of this is important for context.
Yes.
Which we'll come to in a moment. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, we've heard questions for the public service and we've heard the rebuttal from the applicants, so I would recommend motions.
Okay, so we're start with the subdivision and rezoning. So
Yes, please.
some of my comments may apply. Well, the conditional use is frankly pretty easy. So most of the comments will apply across
Sure.
1, 2, and 3. Okay, here we go. I'll move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I'll move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I am gonna add a couple of smallish conditions as we've discussed. Well, it seems small to me, I'm not paying for it, so, but am I amending then the recommendation, Madam Clerk? Is it, surely it's more easily dropped into this item than the conditional use or the variance?
That's my understanding. So if you are wanting to proceed with the development application or concur with the public service, then you would be concurring it with the following amendments and we can go through them.
Okay. Mr. Wallach has a furrowed brow, but seems to be with us thus, has not leapt to, all right, we'll move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in as amended, and I'll come to those amendments momentarily, and forwarded to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development. Shall I give you the sporting
Or, sorry, the amendments that you would.
Okay, the amendments would be the two things we discussed. Is there some, unless Mr. Kowalik objects, is there some way of ensuring that that odd business with the street right of way that's at the east end, the developer's right, they don't own the land, they're not putting a fence on it, that's completely fair, but I don't want people turning down what they think might be some sort of road when it's, I mean, might be fenced off now, frankly, but it would be, it's our city land unless we sell the stuff, so if there's, are we able to put in some, or is that so in-house that we better not put it into a obligation on the developer?
If you wish, I can draft a fencing amendment that the developer constructs the fence abutting that land to the satisfaction of Director of Public Works. I believe that land is currently up for sale. If not
Yeah.
in motion of it, whoever buys it would likely fence it.
Yeah, I don't want a developer to put up a fence that's taken down the next day. That would seem counterproductive. So, why don't we, I won't put that in writing, but let's follow up on that to see where the sale of land is and.
Yeah, I've sent an email, haven't gotten a response yet, but
Okay, we
it was
have
circulated in
3 more weeks of brutally long hearings on this before we're done. So, okay, well, not
Councilor,
hearings.
maybe conditional condition, like that the developer shall at no expense the city construct.
That's why I would
In the
put,
event where the fence is not.
I'd rather put the onus on the developer on the other condition, frankly. So, yeah, I mean, it may all be a false fear. It may be the people will buy it. They probably will. They should probably, but okay. So, or at least they should have the option. So, okay. So then I think, Madam Clerk, the only other issue was the contribution toward neighborhood amenity.
Yeah, so we discussed a little bit about median cut. We discussed that fence. We discussed maybe some options for privacy and screening. And then, of course, we discussed that the funding for the outdoor recreation. The recreation aspect, I believe, if I'm gathering this wording correctly, it's an amendment to the report of the Administrative Coordinating Group. That's section 4, servicing conditions. We'd be adding a new condition number 7. And I believe the number that we used was 30,000.
Yep.
Yeah. Contribution towards an outdoor expansion classroom or classrooms to be constructed within the Louis Riel School Division, St. George School, to the determination and satisfaction of the Director of Planning Property Development, or alternatively, an equivalent contribution towards the adjacent St. George Park.
Yeah, equivalent, yeah, because we have done an outdoor classroom to the benefit of a Penner School at William Johnstone Park, so we may not have room in our park. They've got a very big space there at St. George School, big, so that might be a better fit in there. We spent 60,000 at William Johnstone, so I don't, we could probably drop 60,000 here and be a good reconciliation project and a good neighborhood amenity. So unless, I don't see Mr. Kowalik frantically objecting, so I'm going to assume that wording was okay, so I'll move that as the amendment. I need to provide supporting reasons for all this, Madam Clerk.
Yes, please.
Before you do that, sorry, you mentioned something about median cut and I.
Well, we just had a discussion on it. It's something I took a note on. The median cut for access, but I think that was determined to be okay with the right
Okay,
Yeah,
access and things.
Yeah, we've got the Hindley and Sadler, you can make those turns.
Okay.
thank you.
And if I'm wrong on that, we'll catch it at higher level, I guess, but that's certainly I've made that left many times. The word context is important here. This is likely the last of these major corridor applications that we will see, or one of the last, before changes come in the fall. I know the mayor's office, the mayor having run on malls and corridors being densified, that was a big thing in his platform. He has reiterated that multiple times. The only thing in that platform was there should be setbacks, i.e. there should be, you can't be abutting the street, that kind of thing. Nothing on height limits, nothing on density limits. So if I lived next door, I might be upset by this. I get that, but take the deal and run would be my recommendation to the people who live nearby, because this is going to get much bigger and denser if you wait much longer, is certainly my calculation on this. So we do have some screening going into landscaping for the 4 residences to the south. In terms of height, yeah, I'd love it if this was half the size. I guarantee if I shave a story or 2 off here, it will be reinstated at planning committee. Councilor Arlett spoke about this once very well, I thought, saying I can give you whatever you want to the residents, but it's just going to be changed at the next level. So I'd just be pandering to you. So let's try and come up with something else. So yeah, this 7 stories is tall. However, if you look south from this site, you'll see Rotunda Towers, and it's more than 7 stories. You can see a whole bunch of buildings further south that are at least this height. So it's not out of keeping with what's a bit further south. Maybe it's a bit out of keeping with what you would see within 200 meters of this site, but the times they are changing. And if this was coming a year from today, I would predict we'd be talking about 14 stories or 12 stories, something like that. And we wouldn't even be talking about it because it would be as of right, which is what the mayor has had in his platform, in which my colleagues here voted for as part of the HAF process, the Housing Accelerator Fund. So this is all the things that have been said. It is on a corridor. It's by transit that's going to be more frequent. It is near French immersion, English schools. It does have access to commercial facilities relatively close by. I think, having said for years, I'd like to densify on the main routes, not so much these controversial mid-block proposals. Well, that means you have to vote for these things when they come on the main corridors. And so this is, I think, be interesting to see what height would be proposed if this was coming forward in a year. But for today, I think it's just worth noting the context. I must say the developer, to its credit, contacted me early on. The developer had an open house right on the site. So often we get people who hold them, well, we had the open house at Dakota Community Center 3 miles away from the site and nobody showed up. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a game. This was literally right there in Saint Eugene Church. So, and yeah, when I was first, the idea of developing on the site has been around for as long as I've been elected, since at least 2011, 2012. So, it's a site that, this should be developed. It's on a major corridor. So for all of those supporting reasons, and noting the context of what is coming on corridors, I'll make, those are my supporting reasons.
And so if you could just, again, clarify your recommendation?
Recommend that the public service report be concurred in, goes to planning, property and development committee. There is an amendment. The amendment would be for obligating a contribution from the developer toward outdoor school, outdoor classroom project, either in St. George Park or immediately adjacent to that in St. George School's lot. That's the recommendation.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I'll move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this particular matter. It will now proceed to council and no further representations are permitted on the subdivision rezoning. All persons who have registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council. So I would recommend we move on to the next item in the combined hearing, the conditional use.
Okay, I'll move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye, I'll move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye,
Opposed, carried.
I'll move that in accordance with section 254 and subsection 2473 of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the conditional use is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway, and is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. And unlike the old days, now we do the supporting reasons. We've done something. It's pretty straightforward. It's just allowing the church to continue to function as a church. I went to a service there once, bilingual humor here. I went to a service there once and I said something to the priest afterwards about, his use of l'oignon de Dieu. And he said, no, you're saying onion of God. You want the word for lamb of God, which is close, but not quite l'oignon. So, agneau, thank you. So, yes, have to have a certain biblical and or French knowledge to get that. But yeah, it's still going. I have been there. It's still a function. And this is, we're seeing more of this, right? Dwindling congregations in a lot of places, and they're having to consolidate or sell the land. So here, I think it's they're going to be able to continue on operating out of the St. Mary's facility, which I think is good for the community. So those are my supporting reasons.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I'll move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and the conditional use be approved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I'll move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Please note that the committee's decision with respect to the conditional use may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so is included in the order issued, which will be mailed to all persons who have registered.
Thank you.
And the variance.
Move on to the DAV. Variance. It's 6.
There was, Madam Clerk, there was reference at one point to 140 parking spaces, but I think it's 130 parking spaces. Got that right? Dan, maybe that's more your, is that your?
It was 130.
130, okay. Okay. I'll move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I'll move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I'll move that in accordance with subsection 247(3) of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan, does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway, is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property, and is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. Yeah, these are not unusual, allowances in terms of lot area and setbacks. Front yard here is St. Mary's, and presumably St. Mary's address. The front yard is okay. Okay, proposed lot 1 as the 0. Proposed lot 1 is the
development.
Is the development. Okay, so they'll be right up to they don't have a setback then.
They're very close. They've got a variable setback. There is a portion of
Right,
it.
okay, but the narrower, the bulk of the building is running east-west.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
And yeah, none of this has to do with the height, which is important to note. None of it has to do with the sewage conditions, which are being, thank you for the very detailed explanation on that. So this is mostly just setbacks for yard sizes and landscaping. The parking, yeah, I wouldn't reduce beyond this. I know there's a debate here about having 0 parking. I do think that's simply ignoring reality and I mean, I get calls all the time complaining about on-street parking being diminished. So at least here we've got 130 spots and a church parking lot still next to it that may get used, I suspect. So
And a transit corridor.
But still, I mean, been told for 7 years how Glenwood's close to transit, and then I get all the complaints, which the staff don't get about the people parking on the street all the time. So, sorry, brief interlude there. Regardless, yeah, my supporting reasons are, I think the variances are in keeping with a development that's proposed on a major transit corridor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I've lost the script here, right, the finish line. What page am I on that?
6, the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, back with you. I'll move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and the variance be approved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I'll move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Please note that the committee's decision with respect to the variance may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so is included in the order issued. I will mail that to all persons registered.
Okay,
We didn't carry anything over, did we?
Nope. so I need a motion for adjournment
So moved.
by Councillor Aller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. We stand adjourned. We're adjourned.